Hi, everyone. We're back for another episode of For What It's Worth. Myself, Ben Hager, and we've got Dominic here with us today. Dominic, we're here to talk about taxes, man. I don't know what else is more exciting on a Tuesday in January than taxes. So to get us kicked off here, obviously, as we came into the end of the year, we would have been trying to talk about some tax planning, but there's still time. What can we still do for 2024 when thinking about taxes now that it's January?
Yeah, so there's still a few things that we can do as we think about 2024. And some of the low-hanging fruit would be things like IRAs. If your income is within certain limits, you're still able to make contributions in 2025 for 2024. So you still have these options, things like traditional IRAs, Roth IRAs, if you still are under the income threshold. We've even seen people help their children, if they had earned income in 2024, help make Roth IRAs for the children. So that's a great, they still have. We work with some executives that have a lot of different avenues that they work through, consulting, board work, things like that. And they have many different savings vehicles, right? If you want to talk about that.
Yeah, for sure. So that's a common one that comes up where we still have quite a bit of flexibility. Again, max flexibility is when we're still doing stuff in the tax year that we're planning for. So in 2024, but just because 2024 is closed out, still opportunities. There can be things such as solo 401k set up if you're a solo owned business or it's you and a spouse owning a business. Things like that could still be set up. Things like SEP IRAs, where you can make contributions based on the income you earn from your private business. Maybe that's even a side gig. I mean, this is a big thing now, the gig economy. So maybe it's a side business you're running in addition to your full-time job. Now, we do have to worry about some limits on contributions, but if you're looking for some tax breaks and you're not getting maybe some proactive advice you would hope for from your CPA, there might be some other options there that we still might be able to look for some tax savings if that's appropriate. And Dominic, going back to your point with kids, that's another big one for business owners. How can you have your kids on staff and maybe start to get them started on retirement savings early? That's a common discussion we have with some of our business owner families in incorporating their kids, and how can that be a good long-term benefit for them, a great way for you to start transferring some wealth, but then also a great opportunity for some potential tax savings for the family. So all great conversations that we can start having. Now, as we start to look into 2025, what are some other things on your mind here, Dominic?
Yeah, it's just being intentional. As you start to file your taxes and you're starting to see the end results, did you have a surprise refund? Was that intentional? Some people like to have it, want to make sure that's intentional. Or the other side, are you paying in taxes and you had a big bill left over that kind of surprised you? That tends to be pretty common. Sometimes people will have that where they're under withholding at work, or bonuses are withheld at a different rate than their normal rate. So it's just kind of making sure that all your withholdings are in place, because we'll have, some of our clients have rentals, and that can tend to throw off some of your withholdings and your tax liability. So working with your CPA or kind of thinking through your tax liability to be intentional really helps get the result that you would like. As we're looking into 2025, there are some tax advantage things. Clearly, like the obvious with saving into 401ks from a pre-tax standpoint, but also gifting appreciated stock. If that's on your heart to give, that's a great way to get capital gains out, rebalance your portfolio, and get that charitable gift. So a lot of times we make sure to bunch the gifts because it doesn't make sense to put them all into 1 year. If you're looking 3-4 years out, put them into 1 year and kind of think more about that. Some things, once you have RMDs, are like QCDs, giving to charity so that the income does not fall through to your tax return. It's like it never happened. For people that are still working, HSAs are really big, student loan interest and things like that.
So one thing that I'd mention also there, we touched on retirees briefly, right? So a lot of things, if you have a paycheck, still working, there's things around your tax return. If you're getting too much back, paying in whatever adjustments, how can we go about that? But the same thing exists for the folks that are in retirement and we're living off of maybe retirement plan distributions. We can adjust those withholdings. So having a conversation with CPAs about, are we under withheld? Are we over withheld? Are we, having to pay a small penalty or being put on quarterly taxes? There's a lot of things there that we can have great discussions and partnerships with CPAs to make sure that we're planning accordingly and you're not going to have to, struggle or stress with some of those additional complexities as you, get into a new year.
Yeah. We're just here to partner with you because it's always different for each situation. Everything you got going on tends to have a different result. So just here to walk through it with you, because as we think about it, a lot of times we get this question about, hey, we're saving into our 401k. We understand that's a great direction to go. But should we save in a Roth style or a traditional style? I mean, this is such a philosophical question to think about, but then also to look at your own taxes, because each individual family is going to have a different result. Because just from a general thought process, it makes sense. Once you start getting past the 24% bracket, it is more impactful to receive that tax break today, kind of thinking that in the future, when you're in retirement, your income sources should go away for the most part, and that your taxes should generally be lower. Clearly, this kind of plays into the philosophy of we don't know exactly where taxes are going to go. So that's always the unknown variable. But from an immediate tax break, taking that in your highest earnings can tend to lead to a good result. But when we're looking at it, people, tend to say, well, I want to make sure I have Roth funds, after tax funds, because it will produce a good result in the future. So how do I do it? A lot of times we'll see people to say, hey, I'm willing to not take the tax break today or do a small amount of savings in the Roth so I can at least have some of it, but we are giving up that tax break. For people, we tend to work within strategies such as Roth conversions, saying, hey, we've retired to this point, we captured the tax benefit while we're working. Well, now we could be more strategic on converting parts of your traditional funds into Roth to stay within certain tax brackets. So we're able to spread out the liability. I've seen a lot of good success there as we're looking at it.
And we've talked about a couple of use cases there, right? And you can expand on it if you want, but when we've seen some great success and we really determine someone to be in a good position to start doing Roth conversions are maybe if you're in a position that we're most likely not going to utilize all of your retirement account during your lifetime. So we're talking about transition of wealth to the next generation. How can we make that more efficient? And thinking beyond just your tax liability, but the next generation's tax liability. Are there some benefits there? Or Dominic, you made some great points over the years of having a long-term care plan. So major health expenses late in your life isn't necessarily just about insuring against that risk, but literally just having a plan. Sometimes having a bucket of tax-free money like a Roth could be a great way to pre-plan for that later in your life, where you've had plenty of time to recoup that tax liability and benefit yourself and put yourself in a more tax efficient position late in your life when maybe you have some higher unexpected medical expenses.
Yeah, I mean, that's such a great point because it just comes up so often. We always talk about our investment diversification. Want to make sure we have that in retirement with our assets, with the tax diversification. Now it just becomes more about our timing. How do we get into it? When do we get the most impact? So this tends to come up a lot. So maybe today is not the best if you're in your highest earnings, but later down the road, you have more options. As you're looking years, let's say you've maxed out your 401k, there is a provision, if your plan allows, to do what's called a mega backdoor Roth 401k contribution. This is all dependent on your ability. This allows you to make after-tax contributions above and beyond your current maxing. But this takes a lot more detail, so please just let us know. It's always worth asking your employer if you have that option and you're maxing out. It'll let you get more dollars into the Roth. There tends to be a little bit more logistical steps to get there. Could be worth the benefit, right? Because
for sure. Dominic, any other thoughts that you have at the moment as we kind of think about setting some next steps here? And I'll close on one last comment, but any other comments that you have on the tax planning side, whether it's things we can do yet for 24 or thinking into 25, things that we could proactively be doing now.
Yeah, I just think it's always come down to being intentional, relating back to your retirement plan. Where are we trying to go and how can we best get there? Because tax planning is trying to save you tax dollars through the rest of your life, not in just 1 year. So sometimes we may have to give up benefits today for a better result in the future. So as we're thinking about it, just think through, our retirement plans that we do together. What are we trying to achieve and what's the best timing with it? For each family, it's going to be a different result, but always want to talk through it with people.
Yeah, that's great. Obviously being very intentional and well thought out, what's our process for making tax decisions today, understanding that not everything that's going on in the tax world can be predicted, right? And so I think that's one of the last things I want to close on. I think it's well known that we've got some tax policy that could be changing this year or be extending this year. Not our place to assume what may or may not happen. We're already reading some things, proposals that are out there, et cetera, but this isn't the place to really talk about that because it's so far away yet before anything gets finalized, other than just saying that we've got a great team here at Baird that supports all of us on our team and staying on top of these changes. Much like maybe you recently saw a message from Dominic about changes around the Social Security program. This is another thing that we're on top of. So just while we're talking about taxes, it might be front of mind to say, what are some of these potential tax law changes? How could it help me, hurt me, et cetera? I would say we're a long ways from everything being final or anything being really set in stone yet, but it's something that we're going to continue to monitor. Might be a follow-up topic as we get more information on it, and we'll do another video on it. But at the very least, Dominic will be sending information out as stuff starts to get finalized. So with that, Dominic, any last comments before we sign off for today?
No, just please. Let us help you. Let us think through what's going on and brainstorm together because there's a lot of different things that we can do.
Absolutely. For now, everyone, it's been great. Have a good, safe rest of your day, and we look forward to talking to you again next month. Take care.